And all those girls pushed me to be where I am too. So like I have respect for them for pushing me, whether like double teaming me and everything, like it helped me become the player I am. But my two closest friends would be AJ and Gia.
Between you and Gia, who's the better shooter?
Oh, I'm the better shooter, for sure.
Okay. Hello and welcome to the Anything for Sports podcast. I'm your host, Drew Jackson. I have with me today Kaylee Walters. She is a freshman at CSN, plays for the CSN Coyotes. She played for 4 years at Coronado High School for their girls basketball team, averaged 15 points, 4 assists, and 3 rebounds. Kaylee, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, it's good to be here.
Thanks for joining.
Of course.
So I want to jump right into it,
Mhm.
and we're going to start with some of your background.
Okay.
Tell me where basketball started for Kaylee Walters.
So I had started playing soccer first. Me and my brother played soccer, and then he had gotten into basketball. And both my parents played basketball growing up. And like my grandpa, he's retired, but he coached for 40 years. So it was always a huge thing. We always watched basketball, and they were from Michigan, so I would always watch basketball with them. And then I finally got into it, and I was in like little youth league where we played boys and girls. And I started finding that a lot more fun than soccer. I still played both, but basketball when I was like 4 or 5 is when I started finding interest in it. So I started playing, but I wasn't very good, but I still played. And then up till now, it was always just huge in my family.
So what was it about basketball that drew you in a little bit more than soccer?
I feel like there's just way more to basketball. Like for soccer, there's the different positions. So like I was a striker, so I was just like I didn't really do anything else. For basketball, you have to do everything in order to win. Like for soccer, there's all those different positions. And like a lot of sports like that, like you have your specific little roles. But for basketball, you have to be able to do like everything. Whether that's like you have to be able to find your teammates or score, defend. Even if you have like a bad matchup, you have to be able to find your way through. Like it's just way more to it. And I always just found it way more enjoyable than any other sport.
Do you remember what jersey number you wore?
I was like, I've been 14 since like 5th grade. And that's like our family number. So that's where I kind of got my number from. Before then, I was just whatever number they gave me. It was different every year because it was just random jerseys.
So at what point did you stop soccer and say, I'm going to go basketball full time?
My 8th grade year, I played soccer up until 8th grade. I had fractured my leg, so I broke my leg playing soccer. And then my club basketball coach said, you now have to choose because you're getting injured too much in soccer. And so I had to sit down and I like realized that I wanted to play basketball instead. So going into my freshman high school season, I stopped playing soccer and I was full basketball.
There's a transition there that happens when you start basketball and you're still learning. So like you said, you're not that good at the beginning,
hmm
but there was something about it that made you like stick with it and say,
Yeah.
I want to get better.
Yeah.
Do you remember kind of what helped push you in that direction and made you say like, oh, I'm not that good right now, but I think it's something I still want to keep learning, keep trying.
Right. I always I would just go to the team practices. Like I never really took it serious until like 7th grade, I would say. And like my 8th grade year, I was one of the better girls in middle school. Like not a lot of the girls had played for very long. Usually in middle school, well, when I played, it was like people had just started playing in 6th grade. So it was new to everyone. So like my goal was to just be the best in middle school. So like for my team, we went pretty far. We won a lot like when I was there. And then going into high school, it was kind of an eye opener that like it was way different. Like the skill level was way better. Like all the
There are
girls
levels to
play.
this.
Yeah. So I went in my freshman year. I didn't play a lot. So there was a lot of seniors, and obviously I was a freshman, and AJ had started. So I was like, all right, like freshmen can start. Like I want to play. So I like had realized then that I wanted to work harder because I felt as if I could outbeat like those seniors. I could outwork them, whatever it may be. They were very talented, but I wanted to work harder. So that was like a real eye opener for me was freshman year, like having to adjust to from 8th grade to high school, 8th grade being one of the better players and having to like restart going into high school.
So early on, especially as a freshman, on like a varsity team, what were the things like that you brought to the team early where you're like, this is what I'm really good at. Like this
Mhm.
is my like expertise, or this is like what I can do better than anyone else that's gonna help me get extra game time, like help me get on the court.
Yeah. I was like my IQ had started growing, like I was becoming better at seeing the floor. So I tried to make an impact on the bench to be able to get in the game due to the fact that like our coach was the coach at that time was very set on if you're a senior, like you're playing. It wasn't like based off skill. It was just based off like seniority, like they were older, so they should play. But I made sure to like help everyone where I could, practices or games, like what I saw, I would tell them to try to help them see the game different and see the floor. And I would just try to bring energy because our team, girls basketball, there's not a lot of hype teams out there. Like you just see girls play and they're just like, woo, like you can't really do nothing.
Right.
So I like wanted to bring that to our team. So that's what I tried to bring to like show the coaches that I was there serious, like I was there to make an impact.
When did you become a shooter? Because at like when I met you, like that's what I remember. Like that was
Hmm.
the first thing. Like, and
Yeah.
you brought a little bit of style to it. It reminded it's kind of like Steph Curry, like shoot from a little bit further. Like it was more dynamic. It wasn't just
Yeah.
like playing basketball. I thought was
Yeah.
like really fun and enjoyable too to like
Mhm.
watch. Even in the summer, like with the storm, like
Mhm.
you just came out and
Right. I could always kind of shoot, but like 8th grade year I started being able to shoot a lot more. Like going into my 8th grade year, I would go into the gym and I would go like our middle school, I went to Greenspun. They had a shooting machine. I would call the coach and I'll be like, I want to come in and shoot. So like my 7th grade summer, I would go in and shoot like a couple days a week, get like thousands of shots up, and I started taking my shot really seriously. And then like my freshman year, my shot was not good. Like it went in, but it was a very ugly form. Like my form's to the side already, but it was way worse. So then my freshman year, and then COVID hit. I like took like I did a lot of form shooting. I took it really serious because shooting is like a huge thing in girls basketball just because there's not a lot of athleticism. Like there's not girls who can dunk. There's starting to be, but there's not as much. Like there's a
mhm.
lot of girls trying to be shooters. Like you have to be good, and especially being smaller, like I have to be a good shooter or like a good ball handler. So I try to get shots up as much as possible. Like through any workout, I make sure to get a couple hundred shots up, 1,000 shots up, and then I work on everything else through that.
At what point did you start? And I would just guess this is something that's kind of tied to that, but like
Mhm.
the weightlifting part, especially
Mhm.
from like being able to shoot it from that range that I
Right.
see you shoot from sometimes. Like, when did you start saying, like, hey, I need to add like a little bit of weight training in to allow me? Because a
Right.
lot of girls can't,
Yeah.
especially step that far out.
Mhm.
Like, when did you add that piece?
Um, I had started lifting seriously probably during COVID when I noticed that like in high school when I played freshman year, I was getting like I was just bouncing off people like they were so much stronger than me. I was so tiny. I was just like trying to run past them. And there was just big girls and I was like, "Whoa," like I didn't wanna run into them anything. So like COVID, I had met Charles, which is who I'm with to this day. Charles Sams, he has his own weightlifting like program he does, and it helped me more than anything. Like I felt like I had a quicker first step. I was a lot slower before. I have muscle everywhere. I didn't even know I could have muscles. Like he worked me out, and it's like I go there 5 days a week now, just to try to maintain everything. And he's helped me grow as a player, like way more than I thought. Like weightlifting comes into basketball, it matters so much more than people think. It just brings your game to like a whole nother level that you wouldn't think you need until you see.
Would you say that's super important, like, in girls basketball? Because I think that,
Yeah.
like, from the outside looking in, I think that's a piece that a lot of girls basketball skips, but the
Yeah.
teams that, like, really go, like, whenever I talk to girls on the team, like, they're like, "Yeah, weightlifting is it's
Yeah.
just, like, a part of it," but some feel like girls basketball spaces, like, don't do that at all. It's
Yeah.
just, like, skills and
Right.
shooting.
It's like it also has to do with injuries. Girls get injured a lot more than boys just because we don't lift,
Right.
and girls just don't think it's a aspect in basketball. And that's why our athleticism has changed completely now because there are girls getting in the weight room, and now you see girls being able to jump, like touch
Yeah.
the rim. You see a lot more of that, but that's because of the weight room aspect of it. Like it's not just, oh, I can dribble or I can shoot or I can defend. It's a lot more to it. You have to take care of your body, and that comes with lifting weights. So your muscles can maintain it. You're not just straining them constantly.
So where did you meet Charles? And talk to me about, like, that relationship and how that grew into,
Mhm.
again, like you said, 5 days a week now, what it is today.
Right. So I was working out at the basketball center, and Coach Locke, he coaches a program out here and he takes his kid all around. All those boys on his team had gone to Charles. And my mom was talking to him saying, like, "Oh, my daughter, like, she needs to get stronger," 'cause I was playing AAU and even those girls were even bigger. I was like, "Jeez." So, he said, "Oh, I know a good guy." So, we had went and Charles did an assessment. So, he, like, assesses to see where you need work. So, it's,
Mhm.
like, very specific. He doesn't just make you lift weights. It's, like, specific to your body type and your like, what your muscles move, the way they move, everything. And when he did his assessment, I was like, "Oh, like, this is cool." Like, he's actually, because I had gone to a lift before, and it was just, like, everyone did the same thing, like, "Let's just lift." And it wasn't specific to me, and I have a specific body that I need to lift a certain way to not get hurt
Right.
when I lift. So, when I met him, I've been with him for 3 years now. He, like, from then worked with me, like, every injury, everything that was painful, like, he worked through it. He found different things, and our relationship had grown. He's just, like, such a good guy. He will talk to all his athletes, like, story time or, like, be there for any of them. He's always there to talk to them, but he also, like, he trains DeMarcus Cousins, like, a lot of pros he'll train, and I just see a lot of his athletes have grown into, like, gone to the next level because of that weightlifting. So he's helped a lot of athletes.
Do you guys have specific gyms that you work out of, like certain side of towns?
Yeah, he used to work at Meadows, so we would work out at the Meadows gym, and now he works out at the Las Vegas Sports Park. He has his own gym. So he built his own gym there, and it's really nice. They just built it, like, this summer, like, the
Mhm.
beginning of the summer, he had just, like, finished building it.
So, starting in high school, what did your high school training regiment look like?
Mhm.
And then now kind of shifting to college, like how has it changed, advanced, how have
Right.
you put in kind of like more load on to
Mhm.
adjust to the new level of
Right.
play for college?
Well, because of COVID, it was kinda hard to train, but then after COVID, my junior year, I would train at 6 AM because our school started at 8. I would train from 6 to 7:15, and I would go to school. And then we would have practice after school from, like, 2 to 4, and then I would go to weights after that from, like, 5 to 6, and then that would be my day. And I did that 5 days a week, and then Saturdays, I would just do lifting. I would just go to weights, so I had, like, a little bit of a break, and then Sunday, I take the day off of everything just to give my body a break. So that was junior and senior year. I couldn't do 6 AM because they moved the school, like, to 7 AM, but I would train, I got out at 11, so I would train after school, and then I would go to team practices after that, and then the weights again. And then now with practices, like, the summer schedule is different for college because we're not allowed to go full. But starting the 28th, we go 6 days a week, and it's like 2.5, 3 hour practices. And then we're gonna start getting the weight room and then running a little bit just to get in shape. So I feel like the practices now with CSN, because even going the 2 days a week, it's just very, like, everyone's there to get better and everyone's there to learn. Everyone's super dedicated because in high school, you're not gonna have a full team of dedicated athletes.
Right.
It's just hard to find, but in college, like, everyone's there and it's all support. Like, all the girls are just there to help each other get better, and everyone pushes each other. Like, you see girls in high school kinda hold back. They're like, "Oh, like, it's my friend, like, I don't wanna hurt him." But no, like, we go at each other, and that's why CSN, like, you can see we're gonna be a whole different team this year because of all the work that every single one of us puts in, and, like, we help each other grow, and all the coaches help as well. It's just, like, a really good team, like, all together, coaching staff, players, everything.
So when you look at kind of your high school experience and
Mhm.
the training you were doing, waking up at 6, 7:15, training after, how do you feel like an athlete's life is different than a regular student? Like, how do you feel that like impacted you as a person compared
Right.
to if Kaylee was just a regular student? I go to school from 8 to 3 and then I go home and just do homework. And,
I feel like the biggest thing is time management. Like, when
Mhm.
you're an athlete, you learn to manage your time, and if you don't, you're screwed, like, with school. Because I would get home because it was farther away, like, in the north. I would get home at, like, 8 or 9, and when I had AAU practices in my junior year, I would get home at, like, 10 because I would have weights and then right to AAU. You have to find time, like, and in your classes even, where the teachers give you time to do your work, where kids just kinda, like, play around, like, the athletes have to hunker down and, like, do your work then, because 'cause you're not gonna get home until 10, and you're gonna be dead tired, you're not gonna wanna do homework. You just have to find time to you have to find time for everything, to take care of your body, to eat well, like, you have to find time to eat in between that, and you gotta make sure you get your homework. It's just, like, time management is a huge thing as an athlete.
So that's something you had naturally, or was that something that you had to like build over
Yeah.
time? Does like your parents like help you with that? Like
Yeah, my
what?
parents had helped me. Going into high school, like, middle school wasn't bad. because there wasn't like the workload wasn't heavy. And going into high school, I like had a huge like I was like freaking out. My freshman year, I would cry all the time. I'd be like, I can't do it. But my parents were like, no, you just gotta work on like managing your time. Like in classes, I thought I could talk to people and like hang out. I was like, no, I gotta sit there and I have to do my work. And then once I finish my work, then I can find time for like other people.
Mhm.
But it was a hard thing my freshman year. I had to adapt like real quick because I was falling behind in my classes, trying to go to practices and to go to my other practices and train. But I knew it's what I wanted to do, so I made it work. Like you have to just figure out a way and then make it work.
What was one of the biggest sacrifices you made during high school that you felt like, "Hey, I skipped this, or I didn't make it to this
Yeah,
party or this event for, like, basketball and
right.
sports?"
I really didn't hang out with people. Like anytime someone would be like, "Hey, can you come hang out?" or "Hey, can you go to this party?" It was always no. Like I didn't really hang out with anyone in high school. And it wasn't like I was close with my teammates for the most part. And I had friends in my classes. It was just I didn't have time to hang out outside of school. And that's a huge sacrifice, but that was one I was willing to make. And it's like I'm where I am today because of that sacrifice. Like if I wanted to go to that party instead of practice, like it changes a lot. So it's helped me grow to be like a dedicated athlete that coaches do want.
So let's talk about your career at Coronado. I think ending on the extreme high note, making it
Hmm.
to the 5A girls state championship
Yeah.
game against Centennial,
Yeah.
how was that experience your senior year getting to kind of take your team and lead them all the way to that point, which
Right.
was, I think, the first in Coronado
Yeah. It
girls
was the first in
history?
history.
What was that playoff journey like compared to if you're thinking about like to your junior year and
Right.
kind of how the season ended there
Hmm.
compared to the game against Liberty to take you into like basically to qualify for state?
Yeah.
Like what did that mean and what was that like?
It was I would have to say, like, the biggest highlight in my, like, basketball career. That's the biggest highlight for me was this season because, like, Coronado was never a team anyone really cared for. Like, they were just like, "Oh, like, we're playing Coronado, whatever." And we had a new coach come in, and Jayla had come in, and we had athletes that were willing to play this year. Like, we knew we could be good. We had a different coaching staff, everything. And we wanted to surprise people, like, that was our goal. We put in so much work. We were on the track during the summer at 6 a.m. till 8 a.m. every day. We went in the weight room, and then we would go into the gym, like, as much as possible, and we were willing to work. It was just a really cool experience to see, like, a team come together and really wanna, like, make make people believe. Like, we all had hope, and we wanted other people to believe in us. So when we started winning games, people started saying our names. Like you started hearing people say like, "Oh, like Coronado."
Hmm.
And I thought that was so cool, like people being scared. Cause I would always be like, when I was my freshman and junior year, I was like, oh shoot, we have to play Centennial and Liberty. Like I would be scared. But no, like going into when we played, I was not scared. Like I was excited to play those teams because we could compete. Like I knew we could do it. So when we went, like we had lost to Liberty during the season. So and it was not a close game. And I was like, we all worked for it. We all watched the film. We watched that game. We saw what we did wrong. So we went into that playoff game. Like Liberty, we're like, oh, we're gonna blow them out. Like that's what we went. They went into that game. We went into that game so hyped. Like this is our game. Like we got this. And we played the best game we had our whole season. Like everyone was hitting shots. Everyone was getting stops. Like when it mattered, our team was more hyped than ever. Like it was just all around such a good, like, game, and just we had such a great team, like, that's a memory, like, those girls, never gonna forget. We had just a really good bond, and I think just for us, it even making it that far was huge, like, for all of us. None of us had made it that far. It was besides Jayla, because Jayla had been at Spring Valley, but we didn't win, like, none of us knew what
Right.
winning was like, making it that far in high school. So we shocked a lot of people, and then we made it to state, which shocked a lot of people. And we went into that game like knowing what everyone thought. So like my mindset was just we have nothing to lose. Like they're supposed to win. So all we can do is shock the world, and if not, like we made it the farthest they've ever made it in our school's history. Like we already made history going into that game. So it was just a huge it was a huge season for all of us. That's something that I don't think anyone on that team will forget.
Hey, listen, all along, All we did was ask you guys to believe in what we told you. And sometimes, hey, in a game like this, Savannah, Brooks, anybody, hey, my neck on the line too. Because I got to leave and go home and live the rest of my life if it gets in my mind. If we would have walked out of here not doing what we were supposed to do. We finally did what we were supposed to do, and I'm telling you, I've been believing inside of my heart that we could do this. When I sit down and look at video, I know what you're capable of, but it's a matter of you guys doing it.
Yeah, I think from an outsider, and again, being able to kind of capture it and film the games,
Mm-hmm.
like you could feel a difference with the
Mm-hmm.
team. Because I was at the first game where you guys
Right.
lost to Liberty,
Mm-hmm.
and the team is basically felt kind of like a new team. And you guys did
Yeah.
have some adversity as far as like injuries,
Yeah.
like Jayla getting hurt and coming
Yeah.
back. But do you think there was other than kind of like the attitude and the being prepared, like was there any big difference you felt between that first game and the game you beat them?
I think it was just through time. We didn't have as much chemistry, and through the injuries, like Gabby had been hurt, Jayla had been hurt, so it was trying to get. We had to like kind of adjust the different. We had to build chemistry again because we were used to a certain five, and then a new five. We had two new starting, so then we had to get used to that. So I feel like going into that game, not having Jayla and Gabby wasn't in that game either. It was harder for us for sure, and everyone's mind was just kind of away. But once we like kind of got each other. We learned, we played more together, and then we had them both back. It was just a game changer. Like even them slowly coming back, we just had built that chemistry from them being gone to be able to have those subs and still play the same way. So when he would make a sub, that like we didn't lose our energy, we didn't lose any of that. So I feel like just through time, like playing together, chemistry is a huge thing in basketball.
So senior year, averaging 15 points, 5 assists, 3 rebounds. You had a great Ball Dogs All-Star game as well. Taking those steps through your career, what do you think as far as senior year goes? Like, how do you feel about your performance? How do you feel you did?
Hmm.
And, all that training over time that kind of led you to that point. Now it's taking you to CSN. Do you feel it was worth it?
Yeah, 100%. Like all those hours where everyone's like, "Oh, you're in the gym too much." I was like, "No, like I know I'm doing this for a reason, and I'm just proving all those people like I did it for a reason. I made it to college, which there's not a lot of athletes that get to make it to the college level. It's not common. It's becoming more common because people are starting to see that you have to put in a lot more work. And my senior year, I went into that year like my junior year, I started getting a little recognition. Like people started noticing me a little bit because of all my work. And I had always been like, I'm gonna put in this work for a reason. Like people are gonna recognize it. And my senior year, I went in, I trained with Sed all summer. I trained with Charles all summer. I was like ready. I was so excited. I was like, this is gonna be my season. Like I'm gonna put everything I got into it. So I went into that season and I gave it everything I had. Like, and obviously everyone's gonna have bad games. Like I had games where I could have done better, or done more for my team, and that's the state game was one of them. Like I had a lot more to give. I was getting like double teamed. It was a lot. So I should have given more. But besides that, like my senior career, I felt like I gave what I could, and whether that was just like on the bench, like giving it to my teammates' energy, or on the court, making sure I made an impact in every way, like whether defense, offense, whatever. I tried to make sure I made an impact. And I wanted to make sure, like, that's when I realized junior and senior year, like teams had to be like, oh, like the shooter, like you gotta face guard, whatever. So I had to learn how to play with that. So senior season was just my IQ got better and everything. I learned how to play. The game just kind of got easier for me through all my training. I finally saw the game slow down, and like everything I worked for, I saw like, and I was just in the middle of a game. Like I just saw like everything clicked, and I was like, all this work was for a reason, and it showed. I finally played, and we finally made it. Like the farthest Coronado's made it, and no one thought at the beginning of that season that Coronado was going to make it to state. That's not what anyone thought.
So now looking at post high school,
Hmm.
where you're at with CSN, what are your current and future goals for sports and then kind of post sports?
Hmm. Right now, I'm just gonna try to work hard. Like, there's for CSN, everyone's like we're starting from scratch, so he doesn't know who's starting anything. So, like, obviously, my goal is to start or be first off the bench, and I want to make an impact in the game. Whether I play for 2 minutes, 10, like whatever it may be, I'm gonna make sure when I'm on the court, I'm making an impact. And my goal is to play there 1 or 2 years and I want to make it to a 4-year school. And my dream, like my goal as a little girl playing, I want to play in a Division 1 school. So that's my goal out of CSN. And then from there, I want to be a physical therapist. And the reason for that is I want to be an athletic physical therapist. Like I want to deal with athletes more so. But I started going to physical therapy just to maintain my body. I had been injured for a little bit, and then she had helped me come back. And I just was looking at all the athletes come in and get worked on, whether it's for sprained ankle or like ACL, whatever it may be. I realized that I want to be the one to help an athlete back on their journey. Like I want to help them back on track. So I want to help them get better as quick as possible to help them be able to play again. Cause I know what it's like to be sitting out and like it sucks. So that's why like it was a huge thing for me, just athletes in general. Like I still want to be in the world with athletes when I'm done playing basketball. So that's what I'm trying to do. So I'm going to go to school for that. That's what I'm going to school for now.
Okay. We're going to take a little left turn. Talk to me about the Kaylee Walters crew. You got one of them sitting over there spinning the chair. Tell me about some of the special relationships you've built over your high school career with the girls on your team, with some of the girls just in the same sports space. Name some of those folks and tell me what they mean to you.
So AJ Wick is one of them. I met her my freshman year just from playing. Or we had known of each other through middle school, but we got close our freshman year. And she's like a sister to me. Like I'll do anything for her. But she made me a better person, like in every type of way, on the court, off the court. She made a huge impact on my life. Just through the basketball world, like club ball, I had met Gia playing club my junior year, and she's made an impact on my life, like an immense one, like created me to be a better person. She pushed me to work harder in basketball and like school, just life. AJ and her are like my two closest friends that I've made through basketball. And my relationships outside of it, like I've just grown, like even the Centennial girls, I'm closer with all of them. I played AAU with them at one point when I was younger, like 8th grade we played. All of those girls, like I have a relationship with them. I talk to all of them, like Jada and them, they're all super nice. And through Liberty, like those girls, you just meet, like playing those good teams, it's just respect. Like you earn a lot of respect and you have a lot of respect for those people. And all those girls pushed me to be where I am too. So like I have respect for them for pushing me, whether like double teaming me and everything, like it helped me become the player I am. But my two closest friends would be AJ and Gia.
Between you and Gia, who's the better shooter?
Oh, I'm the better shooter, for sure.
Okay. So we kind of talked about friends, talked about your group of athletes, kind of that were in your support system. Outside of that, when we look at coaches, trainers, family, talk to me about that side of the support system.
Right. So my family from when I was little, taking me all my practices, soccer and basketball, my mom sacrificed a lot of her time to be able to take me to all those practices and everything. So I'm forever grateful for that because I would not be where I am without her. And my dad always worked full time. So he was the one who showed me like what hard work and dedication was because he provided for our family. We always had food on the table because of him and my mom and what they did. And my brother's dedication, like them three together showed me what it showed me what I wanted to do and what I wanted to be with my life is I wanted to work hard. I wanted to make it somewhere and I wanted to be a dedicated person. Like that's the type of person people want, like whether it's at a job or a team, whatever it may be, they want dedicated, hardworking people. And then with my coaches, coach said I've been with him for like 6 years or so. And he changed my life, like basketball and regular. Like he was like another father to me. Like I was really close with him. I still am. He trained me and he saw potential in me. Like a lot of people saw like, oh, like she's not good now. I'm not going to like work with it. Because a lot of trainers are like that. They want someone that's good now. He took me from when I was not very good and he made me who I am today. He would be like, come at 6 a.m. That's when he pushed me. Like I had to wake up at 5 and be like, oh, I got to go to training. But he pushed me to do that. Or he would have me come at 5, any of that.
Why?
Because he knew that that's the next level. Like that's college. He trained me from when I was in middle school for college. College athletes have 6 a.m. workouts. Like it's just preparing me for that. And he always wanted me to get the work in. And he would always try to have me work out. Like I worked out with Kelsey Plum, De'Erica Hamby. I worked out with them. And I worked out with like Essence Booker, a lot of the college athletes at UNLV. I would work out with them. He always put me in a position to grow and be better. He always put me like in a right position to just be able to learn. So even if I was making mistakes, like Kelsey Plum, when I was with her, I would mess up and she'd be like, "Oh, like you're good." And she messed up. So like even athletes at the highest level mess up, but it was a huge experience for me. So Said is like a huge person in my basketball career and my real life. He would always be there for me no matter what. Like I could always talk to him no matter what. He would always be there. And then just Charles these last 3 years has also like been a huge impact. Like he always there for me and always like he would show up in my games. Him and Said, when they would come to my games, like that meant more than anything to me. Cause Said's really busy, Charles is really busy. They're both busy. They work all day. And they like found time, they canceled whatever it was to come watch me play. So it just made me realize that there's a lot more to life than basketball. Like relationships are a huge thing. And I've made like a lot of good relationships through this sport.
Your mom getting to kind of follow along
Mhm.
in your journey. When you originally switched from soccer to basketball, was she okay with it?
Yeah. So she was my soccer coach.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you said, "Mom, I'm sorry."
She had never played soccer though. She was she only played basketball, so she was the soccer coach. It was just a funny experience because I played soccer when I would just sit in the grass and like pick the grass, and she was just the coach at that time. She's like, "Guys, get up, like kick the ball." So that's all she. And then she went from that to high school, and she coached me through that. But she saw that I wanted the love I had for basketball. So they all were very supportive, my whole family, and me transitioning to just basketball. And she didn't have to be my coach. Like she put me in a position like with good coaches and everything. Like she looked through a lot of things to make sure I was at the right club, the right school, to just be in a good area, like for basketball or just for life. So she was fine. They were all very supportive with the transition from just soccer or both of them to basketball.
So being able to see you make it to a state championship,
Hmm.
now being able to watch you play for, or at least make it to play with the CSN
Hmm.
Coyotes. Um,
Coyotes.
what do you think that means to her to kind of see, like, 'cause she was watching all the hard
Hmm.
work you put in, all the mornings, all the driving back and forth. Now to see
Right.
you have reached those levels and now be able to play at CSN, like, what do you think that means to her?
I feel like it means a lot to them. Like it's like a relief. Like all that hard work paid off. Cause my like sophomore year when I put in all that work, I didn't have offers, and a lot of girls my age had offers. So, and they were always like heartbroken for me because they saw how upset I was that I just wasn't getting the offers, and I would try my like play my best junior year. Even I didn't really get an offer. I only had CSN as my offer my junior year, and that was towards the end of the year.
Hmm.
So they saw how like I was hurting due to the fact that I couldn't get an offer because I wanted to play at the next level, and not having an offer is like you can't do that.
Right.
So it's like a huge thing for them. They're very proud of me and very happy for me to be able to play at the next level. And then they're still there supporting me through practices, games, and they're going to be at all my games this season just like they were my high school season. It's just yeah, it's cool to see everything just work out.
So when you look at your journey, you think about young Kaylee. And if you could talk to young Kaylee, or if you could talk to some of the other girls that are out there just starting, kind of going through that same journey,
Mhm.
what is some of the advice that you would give them?
It's not gonna be easy, but if you really do have love for the game, it's so worth it. Like all the time and missing hanging out with your friends and all of that, like it's worth it. And a lot of people don't see that it is, but you'll see like you'll have stronger relationships through a sport than you will just like normal life. You always find a stronger connection. And I built a lot of my relationships through sports, and me putting in that time and not missing practices and all of that. It allowed me to play in college and even in high school. I played a lot due to the fact that I did put in all that work. Like my freshman year, from not playing at all or barely getting in the game, I started my sophomore, or like we played our summer season, but junior, senior year, I started and I had an impact on the game. So, like, all that work is worth it. And it's really hard. You're going to be tired and all of that. But I would always say, like, you got to push through and find a way because it's really worth it in the end.
So we're adding a new question to the end of the podcast episode, so you're going to be the first to answer it. We're kind of taking this from All the Smoke. They do something similar, but kind of as we expand to other sports and wanting to keep a diverse community of athletes that we're
Hmm.
bringing in, we want to ask each of the guests to kind of give us not necessarily a recommendation, but another athlete in the community that plays for a different sport who would be a good guest for the Anything for Sports podcast? Is there anybody that you can think of in a different sport that would kind of fit that mold or that you would put up as a name to potentially have as a
Right.
guest on the podcast?
Yeah, so there's a cheerleader at Spring Valley. She is very good, very hardworking, and I feel like Alize Torres, very, very hardworking, very, very good cheerleader. I feel like she is a definition of like a good, hardworking athlete that would be good for this podcast.
When did you meet her? Have you just seen her cheer? Is there somebody that you know?
I had seen her cheer from when we played Spring Valley, like even my junior year when I would go to their games. But I met her through Gia. It's one of Gia's close friends. And when I would go to Gia's games, they would be cheering, and she was always like the best one. I would just be watching her. There's like some cheerleaders you don't watch, and then there's the
Right.
one you're like, oh, that's so cool. So she is really good at what she does. So yeah. Well, that wraps it up.
Well, that wraps it up, guys. It sounds so
That sounds like corny. I don't know.
Yeah. So that'll do it for our fourth episode of the Anything for Sports podcast. I'm Drew Jackson. This is Kaylee Walters. Thank you and good night. Bye.
That was great.
That-
That was really good.
okay, we'll do that just not in that voice. Okay.
I think the voice made it.
The voice made it. All right, we're keeping that in the cut. We'll do one regular just in case. That was super awkward. So I wanted to thank you for coming on the podcast. I think this was a good interview to kind of give everyone your backstory and let people know kind of about your journey,
Yeah.
where you're at now. It's been really fun to watch you. I think I started on the journey with you during the Storm summer ball. It's kind of when I really remember seeing you on that team and then getting to watch you your senior year at Coronado.
Yeah.
I think was really special. And even kind of watching the journey up to that. I think there were some tournaments earlier, like Halloween hoops,
Yeah.
or some that were, I think, at Coronado that like watching you grow from that time to Kaylee at the end of the year, like I saw like a huge growth. And we're going to splice
thank
in somewhere in here some Storm video, some Halloween hoops, and then some CSN.
Right.
Or not CSN, but some Coronado. And I think like
Mhm.
people who watch, you'll see kind of like even just during that
Yeah.
period, like the transition and difference. And I felt like, I wouldn't say the leadership, but like the command on the court I saw, you looked like a much more mature player at the end where you were just like more confident. You're
Yeah.
like,
Thank you.
oh, like with your shot selection, with like bringing the ball up and everything, like it was much more refined. And that was only getting to watch you from like a year. So I'm super
Yeah.
excited to watch like this transition in your journey with CSN and kind of follow you along this as well.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Thank you for joining.
Of course.
That was the Anything for Sports podcast. I wanted to thank you guys for tuning in and watching. You can find us on Instagram at Anything for Sports and on YouTube at Anything for Sports TV. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the podcast, and we'll talk to you guys later.